What's up, party people? I have my girl G with me today, Dr. G. That's so exciting. Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
She has been in my life. You've been in my life now for, what, like 7 years probably. And you were my, avenue to healing my trauma when I never really knew what to do. I always went to alcohol, kill the pain, ignore it, push it down. And then I had a baby, and things change when you become a mom, and you're like, I'm gonna dig out some of this trash. And you were there for me. You helped me do that.
I think so. Pain brings up the trauma.
Yeah.
And emotional pain is physical pain.
Yep.
Physical pain is emotional pain.
Yep.
And when we try to go to different practitioners, or we try to take care of that pain and it's not going away, we start to question, what is it? And where is it coming from? And what's going on? And we start searching. But having children will definitely...
They change your whole outlook, I feel like. You start living for another reason and finding out, okay, why am I in pain?
Yeah.
Not for myself. Or for me, it was why I wasn't in physical pain yet, because I was still kind of young, but I was just stuck emotionally and scared and fearful and hated everything about myself, because I didn't know that you could love yourself. And
I think when we look at our babies, we look at them with pure love and joy, and we don't want to hurt them. And for some reason, we think we're full of hurt, or maybe we do have lots of hurt, and so we want to take care of ourselves and for them.
Yes.
And so if I separate myself a little bit, take care of my traumas or my childhood stuff, then maybe they won't be affected by it. And it is true.
Yeah, it is true.
It is.
And
it's a great journey.
It motivates. Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard. I think
It's hard.
We were friends, and we would work out together and stuff, and then I realized you were an energetic healer, and I was I need to get this stuff out of me. We take a class from a friend of ours who is, she does elevated energy, and it makes you move your body and move your emotions and your feeling. And every single time I took class, I would be bawling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got some stuff in there I need to handle. Help me pull this shit out.
Exactly.
So I think the first time I sat on your table, I just cried the whole entire time, and you just kind of did this. I was I just cried so much.
Too.
But you were proud of me. You're I felt all that come out.
Yes. Sometimes people will come in and they are, they're rational. They come in, they tell me their stuff, whatever, and then they know they need to release, and I'll just kind of stick my hand underneath their low back, or I'll stick my hand underneath the middle of the back of the rib cage there, and then boom.
It just allows it to open.
Yeah. You open up the rib cage, you open up the heart. The feelings are back in that lower back area, and it's the feeling. They connect with the feeling, and the emotions start coming out, and I just don't think they've ever been in a place safe enough.
It's a safe thing almost. Yeah.
It's a safety zone.
Yeah.
And they release and they let go, and I don't think we don't have these opportunities to let go of that stuff if you don't seek it out.
Right.
And now though, our friend's class that you're talking about, she allows that to happen. We're seeing more and more of that.
Right.
We're understanding that we need to detox our emotions from our
people
body.
want to do this.
They do.
We've been taught, shove it under the carpet. Shh, don't talk about it. You're going to be fine. Move on. Kids are resilient. No, they're not.
No.
I'm so I feel it's so good to pull the stuff out, even though it's painful. It's freeing, right? And that's the beauty of it, to be able to be free in your own energy, right?
Absolutely. Secrets are very devastating and destructive for the body, and the family can hold lots of secrets and traumas, and typically there's one person in the family that's the shock absorber, or they're holding all the emotion of the family, or possibly even the traumas.
Yeah.
And if they were to tell their truth, it's going to shatter the entire facade of the family. And they hold that. They're holding all the pain instead of maybe somebody else holding that pain that's responsible for
the pain.
For the pain.
Yes.
And oftentimes that person has addictions and they're suffering, and helping them connect to those emotions and whatever those traumas may be underneath empowers them to use their voice and state their truth, no matter what happens.
Whatever because the truth is the most important part. To
For
let
them.
that out. Right. And
Yeah.
get it out.
Get it out. You
Get it
have
out.
to get it out, because if not, it's just like this deep invisible wound that just sits there and it festers and
And it
gets
cancer or
Yeah.
disease.
it just starts to grow, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it starts to swallow you, and it just becomes bigger than you. And then I see people come in here and they're just bursting at the seams, and they need to like get it all
get
out.
it out.
And
Yeah.
when it goes to cancer, oftentimes the damage has been done, and it's so destructive, and it doesn't mean that you can't heal it. You can. It's just hard when you've lost a lot of energy.
That far.
You've gone that far away from center. So if it's a tumor, cancer, anything that's popped up in the body, and now it's visible to imaging, any kind of imaging, that you are so far off from your center. It's been there for a while.
Wow.
So to get you back to center, it takes a lot of energy to tackle the things in your life that you need to change.
Right.
But if you did those and made those choices very quickly, you can shift your energy very fast. It's just difficult to make those choices.
Yes. I
Right?
know, because I've heard you say, like, some people would rather, maybe I heard Carolyn Mace say this too. I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm like, you guys are both similar to me. But you lose, like, a big part of who you are when you don't look at who you are, right? Like, if you ignore it, or you go into the addiction, or if you go into, like, all these other, it's like it's hard to go deeper within yourself and look at yourself and look at the beauty that can be there behind the secrets, the dirt, the shame, the guilt, the whatever it is. But it takes a big, brave, courageous person to do that.
Correct.
And you know how to do that for people, right? And so that's been...
I do. That has been...
Like, giving tools to people. Like, for me, you've helped me a lot with tools.
Yes.
Like, own personal... Like, you have shown me ways to release, on my own.
It's taken... Great. I'm glad you have those tools and you remember them. It's taken 20 years to sharpen the tool of my own, and to recognize that it's something I'm like just really good at. And I'm really good at going in there and
It's like
becoming
a surgeon almost.
a body detective.
Yes.
And I go in there and I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
And when I find it, it's like a splinter that's in the body, and sometimes that splinter's underneath the skin, but it hurts, and they know it's there. If you rub your finger over the finger, you're like, it's right there, but you can't see it. You gotta put on your glasses, whatever you gotta do, and you gotta pick it out there. And when you do, it's like, you can feel that it's gone, but it's still like tender around that area, and we still need to tend to it, and we need to take care of it.
Yes.
But I go and get the splinter out.
Yes.
I just had that realization.
That's great. I love that. That's exactly it.
And I realized that's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
I can do it. I could see it. I go in. It's been a lot of practice, though.
Yeah.
It's taken many, many, many different patients and clients and scenarios and traumas and everything.
20 years. I mean, yeah.
It's been a long
doing
time.
it a long time.
But I realize now the importance of it becoming frontline of the healthcare system.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that's what we pray that is going to happen for you. I think I believe that this is going to happen for you. And I honestly think it could change the world if we could just focus on the fact that your soul and your emotions need to be tended to. Like, we all work out, right? We're like, look at my body. I'm going to do this, cool whatever workout. And nobody ever talks about, oh my gosh, I just relieved so much pain out of my system and I feel free. Nobody shows that off or is excited. It's so weird. It should be the other way around.
Right. Well, there's big milestones in life, right? So, I mean, there's beautiful positive moments. You have children, and Then we realize, like, oh, whoa, like, there's a lot of stuff coming with children. It
Sure.
changes, like, just being free and single, and all of a sudden, maybe you're married, and now you have kids, and your whole life changes.
Oh,
it changes
yeah.
you.
Yep.
We know this.
Yep.
And then, say, fast forward, you lose a parent, and now it's grief. And we go through these milestones of life, or maybe there's a divorce, or whatever it may be. We have to detox those milestones from our body. If we just keep moving through them, and sure, we go see a psychologist, we go...
Yeah.
We make sense of this pain, but it's still connected to our body, and our body's this container holding so many lower vibrating emotions that keep us down, and then we label that as depression or anxiety, and we can absolutely bust through those things
Yeah.
when we acknowledge what
What
it
the
is.
problem is.
What's
instead
there?
of putting a Band-Aid on it or masking it, you know?
And it takes courage.
Yeah.
That is the bottom line.
It does.
It takes courage to open it up. You gotta look at it. And I've always said that's like 85% of the work. Is you just have to acknowledge
Just
it.
be brave.
Be brave.
Be brave. You can do it, you know?
You can.
And you're not doing it alone, right? You're doing it with someone who
Yeah.
knows how to help you. Like for me, on your table, I was ready to like bawl my face out with you, but I knew you, you know, like I was like, just do what can you just do something, you know, like you're like, all right, you got to talk though, you got to do the work, you know, and it just,
Yeah.
I was nervous before going in. At the time, I was still drinking. I did not drink though, because you know the work doesn't work as well if you are intoxicated. None of that, right? You should never be doing the
No,
energy
that
work if
wouldn't
you're drunk.
work, but it wouldn't be the first time
That's
didn't
happened.
happen, that's happened.
I'm
but that was
sure.
because I was working with somebody who had a problem with alcohol.
Right.
So he had asked me to work with him for 30 days straight, and I did. And so at first it was like, everything's great, I'm good. And I'm like, but we know you're not, because that's why you're here. And, you know, it was just the facade and the things we had to break through and get to
like the ego.
yeah, he was showing up as somebody, but really he was battling this other person that was inside. And it was like day 16, and the closer we got to it, he had to use alcohol to come in, and I just didn't stop it. I thought of myself as like an investigative journalist versus a physical therapist.
Right, okay.
And I just thought, where is this going?
Yeah.
And then it was all about what happened to you. And then he was able to tell me his story. But he told me, you know, in that state, and I wasn't afraid of it. I was safe. It was fine. But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
With that. My patients, my clients, they always teach me. And
Yeah.
moving forward, I wouldn't, in my like hospital I want to create, I'm not going to have people coming in
Yeah.
under the influence so
Right.
I can hear what they have to say. But in that moment, I just saw what it took and why he would use
He needed it.
He needed
to
it.
tell you his story.
He needed it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is how it worked for him. Huh, okay. And there was like a strength that it gave him.
Yeah.
And I don't
It
know.
help take away the fear. I understand that, you know.
And it taught me how to, as a practitioner, how to take the shame out of the substance, because
Interesting.
it's not the substance, it's what happened to them that matters. And if you take away that splinter,
Yep.
and oftentimes that splinter is a big
Yeah.
ass splinter.
Yeah, it's deep in there. Yeah.
And you know, like where you've tried to get it and you're like, I just can't get it. It's kind of tricky. It feels like it's over here, but it's over here. Like
Keep
that,
missing it.
That splinter is really tricky.
Yeah.
And so he taught me, and it was a beautiful thing. He's sober.
Is he sober? Yay.
It's cool. It makes me emotional.
It makes me emotional too. Because you've seen me too go sober, and it's just so nice to have an impact and help people, like to see God work. You know, I feel like it's...
there's a lot of people suffering, and gosh, it makes me emotional. You know, throughout this pandemic and going out into the world, and you know, obviously we see homelessness increase, at least around my town here. Around here I do. And I see it, and I see people walk by our house, and you know, I just never thought there would be a day where I'm walking on the sidewalk and I just walk by somebody who's just laying on the ground and I don't do something about it.
Yeah.
Like, that seems so odd to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a stigma around it. I know a lot of people there's mental health in there's drug addiction, and I'm sure people have tried to help them. Sure, there's resources, but we are not addressing trauma in the body.
Yeah.
And when trauma is stuck in the body, it's all about the response. And I feel like those people have tried. I feel like they don't want to be on these drugs. They do not want to be sleeping in the alleys. They don't want to be there.
Right.
But when the trauma is so complicated and they're protecting so many people, because I really do believe their hearts are that big,
Mm-hmm.
they're taking one for the team.
Yeah.
They're taking one for the team by being there. And I want to help that.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't want those people out there.
Yeah.
I don't want them out there.
And you know how to help them, which is beautiful.
I really do believe it will be build it and they will come.
Yes. Oh. Totally.
And they'll be like, whoa, what is that facility?
Yeah.
What are they doing over there that works?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, we're getting to the roots.
Yeah.
We're getting to the...
So do you want to explain a little bit of what it is that you, what your vision is?
Sure. My vision is about empowered health.
Mm-hmm.
Empowering people to have the courage to understand their wounds and where they come from, have the courage to voice them. And we will have a facility that can treat those wounds and get down to the emotional roots and where they came from. We will have all the different treatments available to help you feel alive again. And this will involve your family. It's a lot of family healing in there. This isn't about pointing and blaming, and it's about healing.
Yeah.
And healing is often very complicated. And so I think it's going to affect many different generations because these traumas came from 2-3 generations ago. And I feel like our younger generation have these heavy backpacks on their backs.
Yes,
and a lot of burdens from, different bloodline problems up the chain, from war traumas to religious traumas.
Yes.
There's a lot, and I think they're on a different operating system. So, I want to be able to provide a holistic treatment that will affect them and their children and their families to come. So it changes the vibration of our future generations.
Yes.
Beyond here. But it is a hospital. I see many people who, when they come in here and I work with them, I would want to admit them. I'd want to see them for a week. I would want to see them for 2 weeks. Because when someone's so down and out, I want to help change their whole energetic state. And if they have to go home and be dad and go to work and then like go drop off the kids here, go to the grocery store, do all these things, they can't focus on their healing.
Right.
And so, but it's a different kind of a hospital. It's a hospital without meds.
Yeah.
It's a hospital for the soul.
Soul.
And
I love it so much.
which is going to take courage, faith, trust, and but it doesn't mean that there isn't a hospital. Like if someone gets in a car accident, sure, they go to the hospital we know.
Sure. It's just
this is a different type of a hospital.
Right. For your
They
soul. For your
And it's to get to the truths.
The pandemic. You're right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's I believe we are in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Pain has risen to the surface of many people, minds, bodies.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in pain. And
some of them because of the pandemic.
Correct.
I mean,
it's pushed it all.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I have a little trauma from that.
And we know that painkillers don't kill pain.
That's right. They just create more addiction.
They do. And
it's
there's
the Band-Aid, you know.
and there's reasons for them, and thank goodness we have them for certain operations and certain, you know, cancers and things like that. It's great. There's a place for it.
Yeah.
But it's not a one size fits all.
No.
And oftentimes, at least from what I've seen with addiction and musculoskeletal pain, chronic pain, it's emotional. And if we don't make those connections with mind, body, spirit, we'll never get to it. And that's where we have to create something different. We need a new healthcare, like,
stat. Yeah.
new healthcare staff.
New healthcare stat.
Because after this pandemic, how many people are going to break that system that's currently right now? Like, it's old, it's antiquated, it's siloed. It doesn't work for what's coming.
Can you be on a pain medication, let's say an opiate or whatever, and still do this work? Or do you feel like, have you ever worked with someone that's on pain medication, and as you're working with them, they were able to lessen, and then get off? Is that, yeah?
Yeah. I always make sure they have talked to their doctor.
Yeah.
To slowly start to bring them off.
Yeah.
I know in my hospital, I'm going to make sure I have a doctor whose intention is to wean people off.
Yeah, cool.
Because I want it to just be temporary. And that's okay, because if we're taking somebody from the traditional Western system and we're bringing them over to our hospital, in the middle, they might be on medications, and that's okay. But how do we start to take them off?
Yeah.
How do we bring them back? And they start to believe and trust in themselves and their bodies. Our bodies are extremely intelligent.
Yes.
They know what to do.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have worked with people who are on prescription meds, all different kinds. And every time, it's like when you go in and you unlock those places where that pain is, or they're in, you know, a relationship that's disempowering them, and they're living with this pain like secretly inside because they can't show their children, or they can't tell their parents, or whatever it might be.
Right.
They're suffering. And so, I mean, I see it. So I'm just like, you know, I'm always, how's the relationships? How's this? How's that? How's this? And that's when the tears come, and, you know, there's something there. So then open that up. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do about it? Because there's power in choice.
Yes. And a lot of people don't know that they have a choice.
Correct.
Sometimes it's like suicide because they don't want to face their own, you know, scary, fearful traumas, you know? I mean, that's sad. It's like...
It is. You know, I had, throughout the pandemic, I saw a lot of, my theme was adolescent, depressed, anxious, and suicidal boys. And I wondered why moms kept calling me and wanting me to work with their sons. It wasn't anything new. I'd worked with young boys. But I just thought, why are they coming in now? And what I can see in looking back now, they want to feel whole. They want the full spectrum of emotions. So I don't just want to feel shame and guilt and apathy and fear inside, deep down within me, and I have to hide that and, you know, only show anger or only show emotion out on the soccer field or whatever it is. Like, I want to feel peace, love, joy, and gratitude and not be deemed as weak.
Yeah, yes.
I want to feel all the emotions.
Right.
Or, you know, one of the boys I talked to, it was like simply a conversation that he had with a friend, and he made him feel really bad, and he hit his shame button. And then he took those thoughts on as if he were a bad person and he was unlikable and no one was ever going to like him, and he just went down the rabbit hole with him. And so he didn't want to be in his body anymore. And so I asked him, it was hard too. I'm a mom. I have a son who's a similar age, and I asked this boy, why don't you want to be in your body anymore? And he looked at me and was like, and he goes, that's a really hard question to answer. And I said, honestly, it's a really hard question to ask you.
Yeah.
And we had a brilliant conversation about it, and it was beautiful. And we got to this, like, you know, what am I? what's ahead of me. I don't like, and I think he was like a big feeler of the world. I think he sensed all this ickiness and ugliness in the world, and why are we here, and what are we doing this for, and and I'm just like, who are you? What can you bring to the world, and what gifts do you have? And we talked about spirit. I mean, that's just right. That's all soul animated. It's spirit animated, and I'm like, and you could see that he got inspired.
Lit up.
He lit up.
Nice.
He lit up, and then his parents were so grateful, and he started playing a sport. He loves it. They could see that he lit up.
He was empowered.
He was moving.
Nice. Yeah, he was
thriving.
moving. Yes, yes.
And Mom was just ecstatic. And that, I love that.
Yeah.
And all it was to me is just like a resuscitation. That's how I see it. It's
yeah.
Like go in and like bam, and bring him
see
alive.
Your power.
I'm like,
yeah,
you're 13 years old. Like, no, we can do this. And what's in there? But it was like this moment that was really beautiful and fragile. A little fearful for me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to talk about this, and should I? Because I'm not a psychologist. I don't want to. But we opened it. It was beautiful, and boom, and look at where we go. And I have to say, sometimes I don't know, with healthcare providers and practitioners, are we asking these hard questions? Are we putting this energy in the room? Sometimes it's so clinical.
It is so clinical, and you don't. I feel like it's not like they don't really give a damn. You know what I mean? Like, I just really feel like that, though. Like, if you go in there like, okay, we'll check your heart and look down your throat, and all right, you're good, bye. I just, like, there's no real compassion, I feel.
It's true.
Yeah.
And the way I see this boy is I saw him as my own son. I saw him as my own 13-year-old son. And if this were my son in front of me, what would I want to do?
Yeah.
And I went there.
Yeah.
But then again, I look at him as my teacher.
Yeah.
Like, he's teaching me. He's coming in here.
You be brave.
Correct.
Right?
You be brave.
You be brave.
So if I'm going to ask you to be courageous, I have to be courageous myself, and I have to be brave to go in there and ask you all the hard questions that now I've done it for so long. I'm used to the answers. Sometimes the stories are a little much. But I'm learning what to do with them. I'm learning how to be creative with them and how to share them. I think there's power in that for myself to let go of it.
Sure.
Because it's a teachable moment for others so that they can learn too.
Sure.
And
then sage every time.
Yeah.
I always sage. Gotta clean it out.
You gotta
for
clean
sure.
it out. But it's important, and I think with our healthcare providers and practitioners and the people and the healers that are treating, they have to go home. They have to go live their lives. They're often parents. They have families. And it's like, how much, and this is like a question. This isn't anything I have an answer to, because how are we going to help these people that have so many problems inside? And I think it's going to take more than one person to help someone at one time. And we're going to have to change it. It's going to, the financials on that's going to look different when we start putting, money to it.
Yep.
Which is going to be insurance.
Right. Yeah.
It'll be different, but it's something to look at, because the way we've been doing it, you can't just have 10 minutes with somebody.
No, you need time. That's not, I mean, you could, I don't know. I feel like you could probably do some good stuff in 10 minutes, but people have so much trauma. You gotta kind of do it piece by piece, almost, It
is, and I'm learning how to, I kind of, it's almost like in my mind, and when I put my hands on somebody or underneath their body, it's almost like my hands are like a scale. And so I feel how heavy they are. Yeah. And some are so heavy, it feels like they're pushing their body into the table. And I'm like, whew, this is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And how do I help them release that? Because if I feel that heaviness from their body,
can you imagine?
I can't even imagine what they feel.
Yep.
And so,
have you ever held someone and been like, oh my gosh, this is heavy, and then they hit that right thing, that right trauma, and they let it go, and you're like, Oh my gosh, that just, I could literally feel it just like lift off you.
I have.
It's like that red, that
Oh,
red
yeah.
string that pulls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's been several times where, I gave somebody the permission to, do what you gotta do. And whoa. I'm like, oh wow. And they let it go. And recently, I had a guy who I thought it was gonna be the first time I had to call 911.
Oh my gosh.
Because I could tell he was dissociating, and I was like I was like on the edge, like, okay, how far is this gonna go? How far is this gonna go? But I knew his tension was so deeply rooted. And so luckily I do a wonderful technique called matrix repatterning, and I work on the energy of the organs. And so all of a sudden I like stuck the magnets in his hands, and then I put my hand on his chest, and then I envisioned, oh, this is what it's going to be like in the ER room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the ER room. And I was like, oh, wait, this is ER. I can do that. But I was resorting back to what I know. And true, I mean, if something happened and he started hyperventilating and I couldn't get a hold of it, sure, I'm going to have to
call an ambulance.
I'll call an ambulance if that's what I got to do.
Right.
But I was like, and then I was doubting myself for a second, and then it's like, no, you can handle this. And so then I went into what I worked on the liver, where that's the core emotion is anger. And so I started working on that and just putting my hands there and putting my hands on his heart, which is all the grief, and then the breathing changed, and it was really erratic. And then I started just guiding him, like, breathe through your nose and out your mouth, breathe through your nose, out your mouth, breathe through your nose. And like the breathing changed, and it just went from a different state in the autonomic nervous system, from straight fight or flight on the table down to, it took a while too. It took a while. And he had never released such emotion. He'd been in several rehabs. He said he felt calm for the first time in his life ever, in a very long time. And he had never shared all that he had shared
with anyone.
And so then I was like, all right, well then let's get it out of your body.
Yeah.
And then it came, and there's beauty in that. Like he's really showing me all of himself.
Yes.
And I'm not judging. I was just like, whoa, hold up.
Yeah.
Like, let me make sure
let me pace myself.
Like, I think I know what's going on, but let me just double check.
Yeah.
But it was good, and I'm learning.
It's so hard to speak your truth to someone else, I feel, especially if it's a dark truth.
Not anymore for you.
Not anymore. Now I'm like, I'm gonna tell everybody about all my darkness. Are you ready?
You're good.
But it really is, and I keep going back to it because it is fearful. It is fearful to make that step. Or do I have enough money to work on my emotions? I'll get back to it later. There's always an excuse to ignore it. Well, I'll just drink this month and focus on it next month. Later, I'll handle it. But it's now. Like, let's do this now. Make the phone call now. Look into, getting help now. There's so many tools that you can even just look it up on like her IG. You can like look up different things about how to help yourself.
There's a lot of people.
Of course, I
there.
have a lot of my own Reiki stuff that we have talked about, and so
there's so much help out there. I know, classes can be expensive. I know treatments can be in the like alternative and complementary medicine world. But there is a lot of free help out there, and books are powerful, and you can learn a lot. It just takes your attention.
That's it.
You got to take your
dedication,
time.
Really, It is very peculiar for me at the beginning to sit down with myself and be quiet.
Correct.
That was not easy for me at all.
It's
and
like
now
I
like
to it.
I'm hungry for that. I'm like, I need like my 5 minutes where I just like connect, especially as a mother,
Well, and one of my favorite things to say when someone comes in is, underneath your wounds lies your greatest gifts. And underneath all of that darkness or pain that light emerges and people really find themselves and they figure out what they always wanted to be when they grew up. They go sign up for that course or write that book or help people, whatever it is.
I feel like it's the inner tape, that we have, especially when you have trauma and you're like, oh, I'm all the things that person who hurt me told me I was. And so now I'm fearful that I can't break past that person. But you can. You can.
You can.
And
you just have to want to. And what I've seen historically is that people just get tired of it and they get sick of it.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yep.
They're very, very, very tired and they want to finally do something about it. But then sometimes they don't know where to start.
Right.
So take a look. If it's pain, then see somebody who understands pain and what's underneath it. Energy healers. You might find a good naturopath. You might find a good acupuncturist. Sign up for one of those courses.
Sign up for one of her courses.
I am trying to put these courses together so that I can reach more people. I have a big one-on-one clientele, so I'm trying to figure out how to change that. It's been a difficult, challenging decision to make, because when people bare their soul to you, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I love those moments as a human.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Right.
From when, people they're young and they're just dealing with an issue all the way to end of life.
Yes.
There's beautiful moments in that, and I really love it. And I know that moving beyond it will be a little less of that.
Yeah, that's
because I have
sad,
It's kind of sad. And my own teacher had said the same thing.
Yeah.
It was something she had to step
For you
away
to grow,
from.
you have to do that, and
so
makes it hard. Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's my old faithful. I just kind of stay with it because I love it, and that's where it just hasn't allowed me to put more classes out there and do the work. But I know, as I'm finishing up my doctorate degree this year, that's where, that's the direction I'm heading. So.
Yep. We've been, how many retreats have you done? 5?
Yeah.
About 5?
Five.
I think I've been all of them except for one.
The first one?
I don't know.
No. You came to the first one.
Yeah. Didn't I miss one? Was I out of town or something?
Oh, did you go to the Integratron? No, you
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I've been actually to all of them. Yeah. Oh, man, I really hope you do something like that soon again. That would be great. And what that was, we had Erica come on, our mutual friend who does Elevated Energy, and she did some movement. And then our friend Essie, who is is doing the music that you're listening to right now. I'm going to edit it in. And just beautiful people that all get together and like this healing retreat mashup. My favorite was at the Crystal Church.
Wayfarers.
Oh my
Chapel.
gosh, that was amazing.
It's beautiful. When you
find reach a lot of people.
It's true. And when you find soulful places, the energy's there for you.
Right.
It's already so there, beautiful. And then people bring their stuff, and it's just transformational and magical, and it's beautiful. I've always had an encounter with a grandparent or an uncle or a, my husband who passed, Rudy, that last one, I got to sit across the table and hold his hands and touch him. And it was the first time I was able to feel him after he passed. Oh.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh. So, and that was 25 of us or 30 or something. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a really good way to give of you to all.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to get back to those retreats. Right now, I'm planning one to introduce my body, mind, patterns work. So I finished an 80-deck body, mind, pattern archetype deck that shows different personality traits and deep core patterns about yourself and how they're connected to the body.
Oh,
So when someone has any kind of pain, illness, disease, any kind of signs and symptoms that's going on with their body, they're going to be able to do this chart, and they're going to figure out what personality trait is running behind it.
That is awesome.
It's cool. So I'm just trying to figure out a cool place to introduce the whole program, because it's going to be a couple days. You gotta.
And that's a kind of, you know what, that's smart, because it's a good way of people getting excited. I feel like people take tests on the Facebook, like, what kind of personality are you? Or what kind of da-da-da-da are you? Right. And it's kind of like, I want to know.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, okay.
Well, you start to identify who you are. If there's one thing I've learned from studying people for 20 years is that, you know, most of the people, especially if they've had pain, they don't know who they are, and they might be afraid to settle into those different archetypal traits and patterns. And so to bring that forward, maybe it's like the singer. I'm working with a girl who knows how to sing, but she refuses to sing.
Oh.
And she doesn't want to show her voice to her family. And so she's very shy. And so we've been working on coming out of that, and and where does that come from? And why is that there? And but these patterns help people examine themselves a lot more, and they can figure out even the shadow sides of themselves and what's stopping them from things, their fears that get in the way, what their tendencies are.
Do you need a guinea pig for this work?
Always. It's so great. I've been working on it for years, and we've got the decks done, and I've been just waiting for the perfect moment too. Because you know, it's hard right now. So I was just waiting for a good time to introduce it where it's inspiring and it goes with the energy of where we're at right now. Things are still crumbling a little bit.
If you build it, they will come.
I am, because I give a damn.
That's right. By the way, if you live in Long Beach, Salud Juice is where it's at. Shop locally. We are having the grunge. Kale, spinach, romaine, celery, cucumber, and orange. Feed your body the goodness.
That's great. You know, Salud is in my old space of where I grew my business. That's where my first business was. That's right.
And so then you moved across the street.
And I moved across the street. And so I love that they're there, because it's just
you were always
energy.
in the front with your cute little pixie hair and like so thin and like beautiful. I was always like, who's that hot girl?
You knew me a long time ago when I had a pixie then.
But I always thought you had the most beautiful body, because you do Pilates, long, beautiful legs. I was just like, you know.
Yeah, thanks.
Who's that girl?
She was figuring out all her stuff. That pixie cut came when I had babies. I was like, what?
You rocked that.
What is going on?
You rocked that.
Anyways.
Well, thank you for coming on my show. I love you so much.
I'm
so thankful for you, and I wanted to share you with people, my party people.
Thank you. I love you, Kat. You are just such a breath of fresh air. You're full of light. You inspire me constantly to be me.
I love you. I love you. Thank you.
I love you too.
Yeah, because we give a damn.